Oh my god, that episode of The Flash, the 100th episode, what else other episode would I be talking about, was just incredible. So let's talk about my review and breakdown for the 100th episode of The Flash. What's past is prologue. How's it going, speedsters? Welcome to my Flash review and breakdown of the 100th episode. So, in case you couldn't tell already, I am super hyped to be speaking about this. I was so happy with that episode. It contained so many cool moments from previous speedsters, including Zoom, S.T.A.R, the Reverse Flash, and I think maybe just like a lot of people, my favorite moments were the Eobard Thawne scenes. We did actually get an amazing twist at the end, as teased by Todd Helbing and the synopsis. But what I will say right off the bat is the synopsis stated, it quite literally stated that Sherloque would take his concerns about Nora to Iris. That didn't happen. Now, I don't want to be a downer on this review already because, as you're about to find out, I'm about to say so many amazing things about it and probably fanboy out. But, you know, when you state something in the synopsis, it's just a bit like, well, I was really looking forward to seeing what Iris would react like to Sherloque taking his concerns to Iris about the timeline is malleable, decoded message that he got from Nora's journal. But we'll get into all of that a little bit later in this breakdown. This might be a little bit of a longer review, but I'm sure you understand why, because there is so much to discuss. But anyway, guys, if you're brand new here, why not subscribe for more videos just like this on the Arrowverse and the Flash, and obviously in the off season until it returns. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as I did and you just want to show support, be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, as it really does help out more than you know. So right off the bat in this episode, guys, we had Ralph and Sherloque like briefing Team Flash about Cicada, and that's when Nora came up with the idea of, making their own weapon, and that would involve going to the past to like collect this alloy that would like negate the dark matter or just magnetize it. Now, as I'm sure some of you are aware, and you've probably been theorizing yourself if you're quite the Flash fan, ever since Sherloque, kind of confronted Nora in the first episode, or definitely insinuated that he was suspicious about who she might have been working with. Did she come to that decision on her own? Well, when she suggested the time hack, and the explanation was a time hack is quite simply when you plant something in the past so it's available in the future. Now, when this was suggested, I was just like, well, is this the whole theory that I thought about with obviously the Speed Force symbols book? I mean, we got explanations about all of that in this episode, which I'll get to. Now, even though that wasn't the case, I still feel like this foreshadowed the fact of what Nora was doing and communicating with Eobard Thawne later on in the episode, and the fact that Nora, as Sherloque put it himself, that's quite the plan, or whatever he said you've come up with there. I was just like, yep. So I'm really excited for this moment to come in the episode whenever it comes, even though we didn't get the Iris bit. God damn it, Flash. You really could have cut out that Elseworlds little teaser you put at the end of the episode. On each of the shows this week, they attached the Elseworlds monitor with like the 90s Flash clip. I know like everyone needs a chance to see that, but man, that was like what, in a minute and a half scene, and we could have got a lot more, even the Iris stuff in this episode, if that wasn't on this. I don't know, I'm a bit salty about that, I guess. But anyway, I love my man Sherloque because he saw the Speed Force symbol book, and that has been the most freaking like annoying thing this season so far, of like the Speed Force symbols, and I've just wanted them to dive into it, but he started to decode the messaging for himself. And obviously with Nora being so eager to go back in time with Barry and help out with all of this stuff to help defeat Cicada in the prison, she completely forgot about leaving the journal behind. But that leads me into like, obviously, as we found out from the synopsis anyway last week in this episode, that Barry's going to be a bit hesitant in terms of taking Nora back, because he would be going back, as he said himself, to some crazy times. Thawne, Zoom, S.T.A.R. But anyway, times 2 speed here, like he agrees. I love that little moment between Iris and Nora, when they did a little kind of high five thing. I really like how Cisco has finally figured out the flash ring now. So this is kind of confirmation that there's no reason as to why in the back half of the season that Barry wouldn't use the flash ring. Now, of course, they might not use that animation all the time because obviously expenses, it is an effect, it costs money, so he might just be wearing it from now on, and behind the scenes, like where he already arrives at the fight, we just assume that he's already got in the suit, and I assume we might see it every now and again. But please, Barry, keep wearing that flash ring. It looks really cool, especially that little slow-mo effect they did on screen. Even though Ralph wasn't so much in this episode, I freaking loved just before they ran back in time, or as they were running back in time, Ralph played the Back in Time song. That was just so funny. It wasn't cringy at all. It was just perfect perfect humor. Diving straight into the Savitar stuff, really cool. I really loved it for many different reasons. I love how Nora saw an evil kind of version of her father. I was wondering if that would happen. Now this is nitpicky, of course, but like when Savitar jumped over Barry and Nora, he definitely 100 billion thousand gazillion % would have seen them. I mean, obviously he was getting chased by the speedsters at this point in season 3, but I definitely would love to know if he was thinking anything about those two random people right there. I mean, I guess he must have had a lot else on his mind, but anyway, moving along. This is when a time wraith was coming after Barry, which is interesting. I wonder what the rules are about why it wasn't after Nora. Maybe it could have been, but it really kind of wants Barry perhaps a little bit more just because of his history as a speedster. Essentially, insert comic book logic here, but I really appreciated the moment when Nora witnessed her mother kill an evil version of his father. That is just kind of trippy to see within itself. The Zoom stuff, oh my god, I just forgot, to be honest, how horrifying Zoom is. And Teddy Sears was back this episode, but seriously guys, I am in the middle of fanboy freakout mode. Now I really liked how Barry couldn't find the transmitter, and that's when we saw Harry. I really thought in that moment maybe Harry would have to keep the secret that this was a future Barry, but they did manage to maintain secrecy. He was about to break the Speed Force transmitter. He didn't in the end. I just really liked seeing Harry, intelligent Harry from season 2 again anyway, going through such turmoil at the time, obviously, because he was really worried about Jesse. But this is when Barry gave him some information about the vibrational frequency on a different Earth, and that would essentially give Harry a major clue that they would have had to have found out anyway. I'm not going to nitpick that. I'm sure like somehow it would work out or whatever without interrupting the timeline too much. But when Zoom came in, it was just like, you're not going anywhere, Flash. And I was just like, oh my god. Now that was intense, as if you couldn't tell already. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm on about. But when he was just like, who is this? Now I remember this from the trailer, but I didn't know what was coming next. So when he said like another speedster, Zoom it was literally like a field day for Zoom, because all we know is that he wants to inject himself with more speedster juice to make him a more powerful speedster. So when he realized that moment on screen was like another speedster, it must have quite literally been like Christmas for Zoom. I love when Barry and Nora were running away. I did not expect this. I found this really cool when Zoom was chasing them through the freaking Speed Force when they were escaping. I was like, oh my god, so what's gonna happen here? Is he gonna, is he actually gonna follow them to the next timeline? How are they gonna get rid of him? But that's when the time wraith took him. Now another nitpicky kind of moment here. You could argue, well, crap, like, isn't he going to be created into Black Flash early or something like that? Or is Zoom going to somehow shake off the time wraith, but the time wraith touched him, so surely the time wraith would have quite OP-ness over Zoom in that moment? I don't really know. Of course, you would have to insert comic book logic here. I'm sure it didn't affect Zoom in the timeline. Well, it obviously doesn't, because it's all going to be intact. But I just love the idea of the fact that Zoom knows in season 2 that, of Barry, and the fact that there's another speedster. It's just trippy to even think about. Unless that was like a time remnant version of Zoom, because he did make different versions of himself, and that was obviously a huge part of season 2. So maybe that time remnant version of Zoom was the only one to know, but would that technically connect to the consciousness of a normal Zoom? I don't know. It is trippy, but anyway, let's move on. Now, for one of my favorite moments in the episode is naturally when they went back to season 2, episode 17, where Barry had initially traveled back in time before to get help from Eobard Thawne for the speed equation for, defeating Zoom. Now, when Barry and Nora phased through the time vault, and this is the exact moment when Barry was already knocked out way back in season 2, he was just like, well, this just got a whole lot more interesting, and he just spoke the words of what I was thinking. I love how when Eobard Thawne was assuming who Nora was, it's like, wait, let me guess, Jesse Chambers or Lawrence Danica, or, it's definitely Lawrence. And those were different speedster drops. But the very interesting moment here is that when he assumed that it was his daughter, he was just like, oh, Dawn, if I'm not mistaken correctly. And she was just like, no, Nora. And you can see Barrett's like, hey, huh? But then, like, plot logic, he just shakes that off. Eobard could be mistaken, of course. But the fact is that he must have heard at one point another time where he just kind of knows that one of the Flash's daughters or kids is called Dawn. Maybe Nora is another one. Now, I'm going to save this for a whole other video. So I think that is very interesting, because Dawn Allen is one of the Tornado Twins. That is one of the original names now in the Flash TV show. We just thought they were changing it up by calling Dawn, well, Nora, if that makes sense. But what if Dawn really is the real name, or the fact that it's another sister or something like that, and they're just changing it up from Dawn to another sister? But we're gonna have to wait and see for that. I just found this whole scene incredible. Obviously, Tom Cavanaugh is amazing at doing different worlds, of course, but he is so in his element when he's Eobard Thawne. That is why, I think I read in a recent interview, that is obviously why he signed onto the show. I love it when Eobard was talking about the pizza face Savitar. That was obviously the nickname for Savitar, well, Barry Savitar online. Now, 2 times speed again, we're going to the Particle Accelerator moment. Now, obviously, this was slightly changed as well because Eobard Thawne delayed turning on the Particle Accelerator and blowing up Central City, so to speak, because he definitely knew something was going on and people might have been in the time vault room. I love the whole like references to like, I have a vibe about you, Cisco, and all that jazz. It was awesome. Now, this is when we had that whole time vault scene with Gideon, and she was just name dropping Nora Allen, blah blah blah, the 5th like recruit of the Legion of Superheroes, even though they didn't say that. Obviously, it wasn't Legion of Doom, so don't even think about that. Now, that kind of confirms to me that this is Nora, but this doesn't mean that the twin potentially that they actually could be doing after all isn't Dawn, which is what obviously Reverse Flash was referencing to, or like assuming, because he must know that they still have, well, I've already been over this, but I still think that is such a significant thing we must not forget about. Now, I really like how they went back to the whole Flash museum, kind of over glorifying the Flash and like leaving out so many of the tragedies and nit-gritty stuff that Central City doesn't know about. Obviously, the only way Nora's got to know about her father is through the public history of the Flash, and I guess bits about her mother, but we know that Iris didn't like to talk about Jack Shite in terms of the depressing stuff. So yeah, she never knew that the Reverse Flash killed her grandmother, Nora Allen. And that is just kind of crazy because you could see it in Nora's face. And by this point, I think a lot of us knew that it was low-key confirmed that she was working with Eobard Thawne. And obviously the ending of the episode hadn't happened yet, but she must have been thinking, oh shit, like I'm working with a guy who just killed my grandma and he never told me that. I was just waiting for that scene at the end, essentially, after this moment. But anyway, Particle Accelerator goes off. We see Weather Wizard being created, Firestorm, everyone else. That all unfolded. I like the little DeVoe drop as well. You could be nitpicky about this as well, of course, like the fact that there was a delay. Would Barry have been in a different part of his room when the lightning came in? Maybe he wouldn't have been yanking on the chain that obviously transmitted the lightning to him. And everyone else, of course. But you could argue in the original timeline before, like they came back to this point and delayed time, they must have been running a test anyway or whatever. I don't know, but that's just nitpicky. It's fine for me, like little things like this. It's not a massive show-breaking plot hole. Now, jumping to when Team Flash faced Cicada, I thought this was really, really cool. Obviously, the plan worked out because they had planted it in the hospital like wall years ago, and like when Cicada threw his dagger, it just got magnetized to it. So Team Flash were going after him. However, you could definitely drill holes in this moment. I was just thinking the whole time, and I wasn't letting this destroy it for me at all, but when he was trying to summon the dagger like Thor's hammer, they could have just put metahuman cuffs on him. Why? But either way, it was super, super cool how he's bringing it back from space eventually, because as we know, this is completely fine. Like, he's super duper strong now. He's still got a shard on him, so thus he's still a metahuman. But I still want to put in like how they definitely could have zoomed in and taken him out. I don't know, knocked him out when he was getting the dagger. That is something that can't really be ignored. Anyway, Killer Frost came in so badass. I actually teared up at this moment. It was so cool. Like, she saved the day. She's not a metahuman. That's why she's not affected. Cicada ran off like a freaking pussy or flew away naturally because he knew that this would be the end for him. And they could have put cuffs on him or something like that, because she could have just frozen his feet into the floor, done something like that. So this definitely foreshadows how Killer Frost is going to be pivotal to the back half of this season with Cicada. Now, we're nearing the end of the episode now, getting to the very, very spicy bits, and this is when Nora noticed that her journal was missing, and I was just laughing at this moment because I was just like, yes, we're gonna finally find out what is going on. Sherloque kind of confronted Nora essentially, and this is like, we got some big drops here. She kind of revealed that it's a time language. It's used to record events regardless of changes in the timeline, and she was blaming the reason why she was writing him down so she could remember stuff about her father without forgetting it regardless. I wonder if she did actually create it though. That's going to be interesting to know. Like, really? She created the Speed Force symbols, or time language, if you will. I think maybe she could have been making that up. I would love to know what you think. I'm questioning that because these symbols are like in the Monitor's book. It seems to be this like universal mega OP language rather than just her creating it as a decoding kind of thing. Maybe Eobard Thawne, as we found out from the end, after that he's working with her, taught her that rather than her creating it. But anyway, the message that was decoded by Sherloque was that the timeline is malleable. Malleable essentially means that you can bend it, or like it's not going to break. The way I perceive this is that it's not fixed. Like, so she's basically telling Eobard Thawne that, you know, if things can be changed, it is bendy wendy kind of thing, and you can kind of like basically do what you're hoping to do. Maybe don't worry, because it can, I guess, kind of be manipulated for you still, Mr. Eobard Thawne. But anyway, the confirmation here, well, it technically wasn't confirmation at this point, but we all pretty much guessed that when Nora went into Gideon's time vault and she was entering another data entry, which, you know, then she scanned the book and was sending even more symbols to Eobard Thawne in the future. She was like, you know, send it to the same recipient. She was going to send a personal message, but she's like, screw it, I'm going to go there myself. I was guessing at the time that's because she found out that obviously he killed, you know, her grandma. But anyway, guys, the big gilded moment of the episode is when Nora traveled to 2049 to Ironhide, so it seems, to the cell of Eobard Thawne, who seemed to have this like speed dampening suit on, so he obviously couldn't phase through the freaking walls of like the prison or whatever. I love the yellow jumpsuit, obviously reverse flash colors. I really noticed how his hair was a lighter color as well, and it was definitely in Matt Letcher's reverse flash kind of haircut look. It was definitely scruffed up and like trimmed back a little bit to his kind of hairline, if you will. So Wellsabard would look more like the OG reverse flash, if you will. And that's when Nora was just like, we need to talk, and she was like, seemed quite infuriated, and it's kind of self-evident why. She's been working with this guy. It was bad enough to where I'm guessing she has good reasons, I'm guessing, that she was working with the reverse flash, her father's arch nemesis, but to now find out that he lied to her about murdering her freaking grandma, yeah, she's pretty triggered, as you can assume. Now reverse flash was obviously just like, yes, we do. And you can see the message in the background that Nora had scanned and just sent to him. Now, the most intriguing part of all, guys, is what reverse flash is this? It is super confusing. If you guys have paid attention to the Flash, which I'm sure you have, but it's still really hard to wrap your head around. I'm definitely going to be bringing out a video on this or something like this. It's super confusing because you got the reverse flash, you went back to kill Nora, but technically that got all screwed up and like weirded out with Flashpoint, but he got let go, went to Legends, but that version got erased from existence. But then there was this one that was traveling back in time that Barry let go during the Crisis on Earth X crossover, so he's out there somewhere. But technically I assume that this 2049 reverse flash is a one who got potentially arrested, put in metahuman cuffs or something after the Crisis on Infinite Earths event in 2024, and maybe he's just been there ever since. I don't know. It's super trippy to even conceive the ideas. You know, it's going to be really hard for me to work this one out, but I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below, so I can include it in a video or something like that. That would be really, really sweet. Now, I do want to say that I don't think Nora's evil still. I think she still has good reasons for whatever she is doing. I just think that this definitely spices up the storyline, and it's going to be heartbreaking either way for Iris and everyone, like Barry especially, to find out that her daughter, his daughter, their daughter, is working with the man who killed Barry's mother. But the thing is, I think whenever this all comes out to Team Flash family, they'll kind of get how Nora had no idea as of the time of when Nora was working with the Reverse Flash for the first time up until this very day, this very episode. But I'm going to wrap up this video now. It's been pretty long. What an amazing episode. So many questions to come out of it. Obviously, there was a little bit of nitpicking worthy stuff in it, but that's fine whenever time travel is involved. At least it wasn't, you know, plot-breaking stuff, I don't think. But the thing that bothers me still is, why didn't we see Sherloque go to Iris? Because then this would have quite literally have set up what I was just talking about. How Team Flash family would have known that Nora has got definitely a lot more to her. And who is she sending a message to that the timeline is malleable? Oh, could it be an evil person? Oh, could it be the Reverse Flash? Who is it in the future? So, bit disappointed about that, Flash. Friggin' whoever decides what scenes get kept in and kept out, you put it in the synopsis. So, of course, like this video if you enjoyed it and show your support for the channel. And obviously, if you like this episode, which I'm betting you did, you gotta hit that like button. And of course, subscribe for more Flash videos like this. I gotta go now, edit this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you speedsters in the next video. Goodbye.